Court will recognize the Honorable Messina Madsen on behalf of Mr. Hess. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
May it please the Court, Counsel. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, on January 18th of 2017, Genevive Dawes was armed, aggressive, and unwilling to be arrested. You're going to meet Joe Samples. He's a resident of the Five Tree Apartments. On this early morning hours, he called 911 because there was a suspicious vehicle back in the dark part of the parking lot where bad things happen. He wanted the police to come and check it out. He gave a license plate number. You are going to learn that Officer Hopkins ran that license plate and the car was stolen. 6 officers did arrive. The first to arrive were going to be Evans and Lipwar. They were riding together. They will tell you about how they approached. The next to arrive is Alish and Lipwar, or Alish and Hopkins. They will tell you where they parked. You see, they were familiar with this parking lot, and one of them will tell you that he describes it as a fatal funnel. Going into this parking lot is hard. It's hard for officers to get out, and they're aware at that moment that they may be walking into a dangerous situation. So he will show you where they parked. You will have the opportunity to watch Officer Lipwar's body cam, Officer Evans' body cam, Officer Hopkins' body cam, and then Officer Hess and Officer Kimball were the last to arrive. By the time they arrived, the other officers are back fanned underneath the carport right here. You will see that this carport was full with multiple cars. The stolen vehicle was parked here. There's a white lattice fence here. The officers will tell you where they were at all times. When they first started making the commands, driver, show us your hands. Driver, put your hands out the window. In a loud voice, they were back here under cover. You will hear that they were about to make a felony stop. You will learn what that is, what tactical maneuvers they are trained to use to stay safe. You will learn that Officer Hess and Kemple came up, and they discussed that they will have to approach the vehicle to see if it's occupied. They know the windows are foggy, they can't see in, but they think it's occupied. You will see that Officer Hess pulls a squad car up here to provide cover for the officers as they approach. They fan out and are surrounding this car. You will watch the different body cameras. You will see the different views. You will see different things from different body cameras. You will hear the commands. Dallas Police, show us your hands. They are loud. They are making every attempt to get the occupants of that car to comply. Officer Hess blasts the siren to let them know it's the police. Officer Hess blares the horn. They continue to yell and command the occupants of the car to get out. Those occupants refuse to comply. Then you will see the occupants of that car, instead of getting out and yielding to the show of authority, the driver turns on the car. At that moment, you see Hess yell out, jump in his squad car, and pull the squad car up. You will hear from him that he was trying to place a barrier in between that car and the officers who were fanned out directly behind where it was parked, mere feet from that car. You will see that then the car is put in reverse. The wheel turned and it backs out, hits the squad car. Then the driver puts the car into drive, foot on the accelerator, and pushes in an attempt to ram through the fence. They can't get through the fence. You will see multiple angles. You will see that they accelerate and the wheels spin. They can't get through the fence. The driver of that vehicle then puts the foot on the brake, shifts it into reverse, puts the foot on the accelerator, and begins to push. At that moment, officers are fanned out behind this car. and begin to scramble for cover as that car reverses towards them. You will learn that that driver was Genevive Dawes. You will also learn what was in that car. In that car was a loaded gun. This gun was stolen. Additionally, possession of this gun, regardless of its status, would be illegal for either the driver or the passenger. You will learn where this gun was found and how it was found. You will learn that that car was stolen, and operating that stolen vehicle was a felony offense for the driver, Genevive Dawes. She made a drug-induced decision that night to avoid that felony arrest. You will learn that she had both meth and heroin in her system. You'll also meet Officer Hess. You'll have the opportunity to see what the state didn't show you on that body camera. You'll have the opportunity to hear all of those officers state, "Get out of the car." You'll hear how loud they yelled. You'll see how they were behaving before, during, and after. You will hear from Christopher Hess of what he was thinking before, during, and after. What was going on in that car was Genevive Dawes had made a drug-induced decision to escape a felony arrest. More importantly, I submit to you that the state is going to make a decision not to call the passenger of that car. As they tell you to answer the question of why he made that decision to shoot, you look at before, during, and after. You look at every attempt to get them out of the car. They refused to comply and made a drug-induced decision to use force. Officer Hess will tell you that he made a reasonable decision to protect himself, to protect his fellow officers, to go home to their families that night. You will see what led up to it and what that decision was. Genevive Dawes also made decisions that night, and you will see it from multiple angles. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a tragedy that she was absolutely determined to drive into. Absolutely determined to drive into and through, and it did not matter who would get hurt. It is her decisions that night that make this a not guilty verdict. Her decisions that night make this a not guilty verdict.
Thank you, Ms. Matson. Mr. Lewis, please call your first witness.